Today, I'm going to cover the 4 email flows that make the most amount of revenue for e-commerce brands. I'll break down exactly what each flow needs to contain and when you need to send it. Most brands think that they have their flow set up correctly, but once they take a look into their account, they're either missing key emails, their flows are firing at the wrong time, or they've only been set up once and never touched again. I've worked with over 150 e-commerce brands, and we've been able to generate over $100 million in email marketing revenue from selling hot sauce all the way to high-end saunas. And these 4 flows are consistently the highest revenue drivers across all of the accounts that we've worked with. So just to start off, it's really important to understand that email marketing continues to be one of the most profitable channels for e-commerce brands. But the key is not to just send more emails. The key is to send the right emails at the right time to the right person. And so these 4 automated flows cover the most critical points in the buyer's journey and can drastically increase your revenue without adding additional advertising costs. And so the first flow that we're going to be talking about today is going to be the welcome series, right? And the welcome series is going to have 6 emails. The trigger for the welcome series is going to be someone that subscribes to your email list. And typically, majority of your email signups is going to come through your pop-up form, which I have a separate video on. All the people that are entering their email through the pop-up form, they're going to be entered in through your welcome series now. And so without a compelling welcome experience, you risk losing valuable leads who might never return, essentially leaving money on the table right from the start. And so there's a few different touch points that I really need you to focus on when it comes to building the welcome series. And that is number 1, delivering the offer immediately, introducing your brand, showcasing your best sellers, stacking social proof, telling your story, and adding urgency. And so here's an example of what that looks like. So this is one of the welcome series emails that we did for a brand called Sillygrams. And you can see that we had a kind of a get to know us style of an email. You can see that there's a picture in the header of this email of the 2 founders, and kind of the text at the top of that kind of goes into their backstory and in terms of how they started their brand, what sort of mission that they're on, and what they're looking to accomplish with every new product that they launch. And then we're reintroducing the 10% off welcome offer, which is, the code welcome10 that we're using. And then we have a CTA button that says redeem the offer. And in this email too, we wanted to make sure to include some of the top best-selling collections, because sometimes when people come to your site and they opt in, they don't actually know, what direction to go, and they don't know what products to buy, what is the top selling products, etc. And so typically in the 3rd, 4th, or 5th email of the welcome series is where I really just want to focus on showcasing the best sellers. And that's exactly what we did here in this email. Now, this is another email that we did, and this is like a plain text email. I highly recommend doing a plain text founder-based email within the welcome series, specifically 2nd email of the welcome series and the last email of the welcome series. This example that you see on the screen is an example of the 2nd email of the welcome series that we did. And really the purpose of that is to make sure that we're introducing people to the brand from the founder's perspective and really just welcoming them in a few hours after they join the email list. So you can see this is a brand called Mellow Sleep that we work with, and you can see that this email is basically saying, hey Siv, we know you just joined our email list a few hours ago, but we wanted to send you a quick personal note to say thanks. We're the team behind Mellow Sleep. We started this company because we were tired of waking up sweating or shivering every night. Traditional comforters just weren't cutting it. They were either too hot, too cold, or required wrestling with duvet covers that never stayed put. That's why we created XYZ. It's the first dual layer system, kind of goes into the education around the brand and the product. Most people start with the temperature control comforter. So this kind of plays into the psychology of like popularity and what people are preferring and what people are actually buying. So most people start with the temperature control comforter since it involves the biggest sleep problems we hear about. So this is a great line to add in here because people might be coming to your site and not knowing if you have multiple options. They don't know which one it might be the right option for them. And so, if I'm joining an email list and I'm reading this for the first time, I'm like, okay, maybe I should just start with this, and then that should help some of the pain points that I'm going through, and then I'll start with that and I'll buy this product specifically first, and then kind of shop around other products maybe later on that might be complementary. But honestly, just browse around and see what feels right for you. Oh, and if you're planning to check out the site, don't forget your code welcome for 10% off, and we have a CTA that says continue browsing, sleep well, the Mellow team. And so in this case, the founder actually was not comfortable with putting their name and their signature in the email, and so they told us we can just use the Mellow team. Keep that in mind for you as well. Like if you're not comfortable putting your first and last name and signing off as a CEO or a founder, it doesn't necessarily always have to be the founder. It could be customer support rep or like a logistics rep, or really just anyone in the company that is working with you, or it could just be more general, like in this case, the Mellow team. The whole purpose of the email though is to make it seem like it's coming from the team or someone that's on the team. It kind of gives off more of that personal vibe and humanizes the brand, especially these days when a lot of emails that are sent out from brands are just very heavily graphically designed and just very image heavy. And just to show you another example, this is a welcome email that we did for another client of ours. You can see here the open rate is at 48%, click rate 5.1%. Number of people that have placed an order is quite high, $22,000 in in revenue. And if you look at the content of the email, we have a very, very clear header that says, welcome to Miyamo, 10% off your first order, code Miyamo10. Really big and clear shop now button. If you watch some of my other videos, one of the biggest things I recommend is having really clear, easy to read, easy to click CTA buttons. And then we have a little bit of text that says, we're excited to be part of your journey to a better you through high quality, science-backed Korean cosmetology. Now that you're one of us, you'll be the first to know about exclusive sales, new drops, and more. So just a small little blurb around, what they can expect when joining your email list. Let's get started. And then we have a few of their best-selling products right here. And then we have smarter solutions this way. And then we have a shop now button right here. This email itself has generated $22,000 in the last couple of months, which is really, really great to see. And so when you're designing your welcome series emails, it's really important to make sure that you're focusing on all 6 of these elements throughout all the emails in your flows, right? All of these points don't need to be focused on within just one email. Maybe like one email can be focused on social proof. Another email could be focused on bestsellers. Another email could be focused on introducing the brand and the team and the mission. Another one could just be focused on like urgency and that the discount is expiring. The whole point being is that the welcome series is your opportunity to have multiple emails and different touch points. So that way people are getting different angles as they're going through it until they make a purchase. So the second flow that we're going to be covering is called the site abandonment flow. And funny enough, a lot of people aren't even aware that the site abandonment is even a flow that could be set up, because the site abandonment is actually triggered off of the active on-site metric. And a lot of founders that I speak to aren't even aware of that metric. I think, a lot of them focus on the browse abandonment flow, obviously the cart abandonment flow, and also the checkout abandonment flow, which is super important. But there's also one step in the funnel before someone actually views a product. And that's when someone comes to the homepage of your website, or really any page of your website that doesn't involve going into an actual product page. The whole purpose of this is that a visitor came to your site but left without looking at a single product. Maybe they got distracted or didn't know where to start. This flow is your second chance to bring them back and point them in the right direction. And so really the whole point of this flow is to have more of like a holistic approach to your entire site, kind of like a mini homepage essentially, where we can really introduce people to all of the different products and collections that your brand has to offer. And then from there, lead them into clicking that collection that they're most interested in. Because again, you have to remember, from a visitor's perspective, they haven't even had a chance to look at any of the products yet, or even add to cart or start a checkout, let alone. So we need to make sure to really just highlight the best sellers and kind of point them in the right direction, so that way they know how to even get started with your brand in the first place. And so again, the trigger is when an email subscriber visits your site but leaves without viewing any products. And so there's 4 touch points here that I really want you to focus on when you're building this flow. Number 1, we want to lead with curiosity. So for example, not sure where to start, or here's what everyone's loving, right? Again, like I said, people aren't aware of what your brand has to offer yet. We want to be a little bit more general and kind of hold their hand and get them to be introduced to all the different products and offerings and collections that you guys have. Number 2 is highlighting the best sellers. So we want to give them an easy entry point. We want to reinforce credibility. So remind them why your brand is worth their time and attention, especially for these people that haven't, gone as far as to view a product page yet. Maybe they're shopping with other brands right now. Maybe they're just like in the market for your type of product. And so we want to show them the reason why they should shop with you specifically. And another thing that helps with that specifically is dropping trust builders. So review snippets, guarantees, as seen in logos. Like if you guys are part of any sort of credible, magazines or blogs or anything like that, that could be really, really useful to implement. And so this is a site abandonment email from a brand called Disco. And I'm assuming that their subject line must have said something like, you forgot something or you left something important behind. Because if you take a look at their hero copy right here, it says, by that we mean you forgot everything, right? So very, very clever header copy there. And then we have a CTA that says return to Disco. There's a lot of exploring to do and lots of best-selling products you missed out on, right? So again, you're tailoring the message to people that haven't even had a chance to look at any collection or products. So showing them, that there are bestsellers and a lot of exploring to do. And then it says below that, these bestsellers sell for a reason. Thousands of faces have become even more handsome from daily use of these. And then we have the top 4 best-selling products right here, such as the repairing eye stick, the purifying face mask, the starter set, and the basic set. And then right below that, it says, come back to check them out. Your skin is counting on you. Shop Disco. So again, it's a very high-level email. We're not talking about any specific product. That's where we want to save the browse abandonment for. Also, with site abandonment flows, there's no such thing as a dynamic block because there's no specific product that they checked out or viewed or added to cart. So again, we're just highlighting the best sellers and introducing them to, different products that they might be interested in. You can see in this example on my screen here, for this brand that we work with, we did the site abandonment email where we had a conditional split. So whether or not someone placed an order or not, in this column, it's if they've placed an order in the past. In this column, it's if they haven't placed an order in the past. And the only difference is that we're offering offering the welcome discount again for people that have never used the welcome discount before or who have never purchased before. And so you can see here, this one generated $500 in the last 30 days. This is for the non-purchasers. And then 22 hours later, we're sending the plain text email. And this email number 2, which is a plain text email, generated more revenue than the first email. So this email generated $1,200 in the last 30 days. This one generated $500, which means this plain text email is actually outperforming the designed email, which goes to show how important it is to send out plain text emails regularly within not just the site abandonment flow, but also some of the other high intent flows like the welcome series, abandoned checkout, browse abandonment, but also some of the campaigns as well. But yeah, I recommend doing a plain text email about 24 hours after someone is active on your website. You can see in this example here, it says, "It's Marcel. I saw you stop by our site recently and wanted to reach out personally. We started Exhibitive because I believe art should transform spaces, not just fill them. I know choosing art for your space is deeply personal. If you need help finding the right collection or have any questions about our pieces, just hit reply. I'd love to help you create something amazing." So that's one thing I really want to focus on that site abandonment flow is we're not really like hard selling here because we want to make sure that we're helping people and guiding them in the right direction. So you can see this line, if you need help finding the right collection or have any questions about our pieces, just hit reply. So it's more of like a helpful tone rather than like trying to get them to buy right away. And so if we can kind of guide them to, browse a specific collection or just browse again, come back to the homepage and browse the homepage again, they're going to be a lot more likely to actually dig, double click deeper and go into an actual product, which then we can follow up with them with other sequences, which I'm about to get into later in this video. P.S. Personally, I'm loving our Noir collection lately. The sophisticated monochromatic aesthetic works beautifully in any space while making a real statement. Most collectors find it's a perfect starting point. So again, we're kind of leading in, helping them out with like a starting point so that way they know, if they come back to the site, where can they kind of start with and where they should start shopping from. By the way, if you want access to the complete breakdown of our strategy, click the link in the description to grab my free 126-page email revenue playbook. What's in there, you ask? Well, I have a full breakdown of the 4 email marketing pillars, which include list growth, deliverability, flows, and campaigns, plus 30 high converting email examples that you can swipe and adapt to your brand specifically, and the exact frameworks behind $100 million in email revenue for e-commerce brands, and a visual flow chart that kind of walks you through all the different flows that you need as part of your entire email marketing klaviyo ecosystem. The link is in the description down below, so go ahead and grab that now. So the third flow I want to go over is called the browse abandonment flow, and this is something that you've probably heard of, and the trigger for that is an email subscriber that visits a product page but leaves without adding to cart and buying. So different from the site abandonment where they're just browsing the homepage, now they're taking one step deeper in the funnel and they're actually viewing a specific product. And the beauty of that is that we're actually able to take a dynamic block of exactly the product that they viewed and insert that into an actual email. So we can show them exactly what they were viewing and the email will be a lot more relevant in that case. So again, we want to show them what they viewed, the exact product that they viewed with the price, the title of the product, the image of the product, etc. We want to reinforce the value. So highlight the core benefits and the unique selling points of the product. Add social proof. Customer reviews and testimonials are really great here. Suggest similar products. So if their initial choice wasn't quite right, maybe offer some other alternatives below, the dynamic product block. We also want to reduce risk, right? So you want to address common anxieties by emphasizing guarantees. So if you guys offer like a 30-day, 60-day money back guarantee or just a satisfaction guarantee in general, really important to mention that because these days it's really hard to build trust with people and people are really hesitant to shop online, especially if it's not on Amazon where you can just make a return right away. You really want to just emphasize those guarantees and reduce as much risk as possible. And then next, you want a small incentive for non-customers, right? So as I mentioned in the site abandonment, we want to have 2 separate paths, one path for purchasers, one path for non-purchasers. For the non-purchaser path, we want to kind of introduce that welcome discount again, because technically they're still eligible to receive that discount. So we want to emphasize that. You don't even need to change the content. You just simply can just add a banner to the top of the email saying, hey, your welcome series is still active. Use code XYZ to get, whatever the discount is. Could be free shipping or a small percentage off their first purchase. And then at the end of the flow as well, you can even offer another sort of incentive. And this could be for purchasers and non-purchasers to get them to come back and, place an order. So typically on the last email of the browse abandonment, I like to kind of do another discount code that matches what we're offering on the welcome series. And typically we found that to help, drive more conversions because price is oftentimes a pretty big objection when it comes to shopping online. So here's an example on my screen of a browse abandonment flow that that we did for a brand. This is for a skincare company, and you can see at the top it says your skin deserves the best. We have a little bit of body copy, a nice hero image of someone actually like using the product and being really happy with it. We have a couple of best sellers right here as well, and you can see as well like obviously we have some best sellers here, but this is just like a mock-up that we did. But usually what we'd want to do is replace this section with a dynamic product block. So we're showing them the exact product that they're viewing, and then we have a CTA that says take another look. So when someone clicks on that CTA button, it's going to lead them not to the homepage, not to just any random page. It's going to lead them exactly to the product that they were viewing. And then, like I said earlier, we want to kind of recommend other products that they might be interested in, because even though that they viewed this product, there might be other products that they didn't even know or they weren't even aware of that was on the site. So we want to see what we can do to implement some other sections here of other products that that could be popular. At the bottom, we say we got you covered. We say like free shipping, 10% cash back, 60-day money back guarantee. A lot of different benefits and value that we're adding here towards the bottom of the email. So it doesn't need to be anything overly flashy. Just a simple email that nudges that potential customer to come back to the site, come back to what they're viewing, introduce them to some other bestsellers, and also reduce their risk as much as possible. And here's another example of a very simple browse abandonment email. So this is just like the first email of the welcome series. It says, how about a nudge in the right direction with 30% off your order? Shop 30% off is a CTA, and then we have a code right here at the very top. So everything is like nice and clear and really easy to see. They don't have to scroll to get any of the discounts. We know you'll love it. So here's a little something to get the ball rolling. And then right here, this is a dynamic product block. So, obviously this is the exact product that the customer was viewing. We have the price right here, the name of the product, and also the image. And then we have resume order. So I like the language that we're using here. It's called resume order instead of just shop now. It gets people more in the buying mode when we're referring back to resuming what they've already started rather than having to start something, from scratch where we say shop now, for example. So this is an example of a browse abandonment flow that we set up for one of our clients. You can see the trigger is when someone viewed a product. We're waiting 2 hours before sending the first email. This first email did $14,000, has a 40% open rate, 3.6% click rate, got delivered to around 3,000 people. So this is really solid. We're waiting a day before sending the second email. Second email did a little bit lower. We had $1,800 in revenue, but still solid engagement and open rates. Email number 3 has more revenue. So that's where we're introducing the discount, like I said. So we're offering 10% off because that's what they're offering in their welcome series. And you can see the lift in conversions between email number 2 and email number 3. We're generating $4,500 with this email. And again, very similar engagement. And then we also are doing a text message. So SMS is something that I also recommend leveraging in some of these flows, like your welcome series, your site, your browse, your abandoned cart, your abandoned checkout. You can see that this brand with this text message right here generated $5,000 from a simple SMS that we sent. The SMS just says, final reminder, 10% off with code LUCKY10, start your recovery now, and then a shop now link that links them directly back to the product page that they're reviewing. So the next flow I'm gonna cover is the cart and the checkout abandonment. I'm gonna kind of combine them into one because really the strategy is gonna be very similar between the two. Really the main difference is the trigger, right? One of the triggers is gonna be the abandoned cart. The other trigger is gonna be the started checkout. Most brands have the started checkout metric available and they have a flow for it, but a lot of brands don't even know or aren't even aware of the abandoned cart metric. And so this flow represents your highest intent recovery opportunity. So these people got very far down the funnel. They're literally about to purchase, but something is stopping them, right? So someone adds a product to their cart or starts a checkout but doesn't complete their purchase. So they've abandoned, their cart or their checkout. A few different touch points that we want to focus on here is number 1, remind them of what is in their cart. Include the product blocks, just like we did for the browse abandonment. Number 2 is that we want to reinforce why it's worth it. So we want to highlight the key benefits, the transformation or the solution your product offers to their needs specifically. And then number 3, you want to handle objections. So this is like your number 1 way that you're going to be able to handle objections when people are at the checkout, right? So you want to address common concerns such as shipping costs. Sometimes people don't want to pay shipping, return policies, product compatibility, and even just pricing in general, right? Offering them a discount code, maybe offering them a small incentive to get them to purchase, because oftentimes pricing can be a big hurdle that's stopping someone from actually pulling the trigger. And then also social proof as well, right? I think a lot of times people don't buy something because they don't know if they can trust the brand, or maybe they haven't seen enough reviews. They don't know that other people out there are enjoying the product. And so again, we want to handle like the price objection, the trust objection, and any sort of like other logistics that would be getting in the way of them placing an order. And then number 4 is where we want to offer support. So include a direct invitation for assistance, because, if they gotten this far, maybe they just have some questions, some genuine questions that's stopping them from placing an order. And so we want to kind of invite them to reach out to you and the brand and the customer service team to see if there's anything that they can help answer with. So here's a few examples. So which came first, the chicken or the egg? We have no idea, but neither of them would want you to forget about your nugs. So it's a very humorous style of an email. We have the dynamic product block here, continue to box, which leads them directly back to their cart or checkout, and then word on the web. You can see that they're linking like their social media, Instagram. They have like a GIF that they have going on here, which looks very eye-catching. And you can see in this example, at the very top, we have a very on-brand saying that says not just sweet talking, because they sell sweet, chocolate and that sort of thing. Underneath that, we have the product dynamic block, and then we have take this home, which is going to lead them directly back to their checkout. And we have 3 really, really compelling reviews, right? Not just generic reviews, but reviews that actually speak directly about their product and like what it's like, what it tastes like, what their experience has been like, etc. And then we have a taste it to believe it CTA right here. And then we have another take this home CTA, again, with another dynamic block at the very bottom. So we have dynamic block at the top, dynamic block at the bottom. I recommend having at least one for sure, but it might make sense to add in a second one if the email tends to be on the longer side. So that way people don't have to scroll up again. And this is an example of an abandoned checkout flow that we've done for one of our clients. You can see the triggers when someone started a checkout. We're waiting 30 minutes. By the way, I've tested this out very, very thoroughly just to save you time. 30 minutes tends to outperform really any other time delay. So we've tested 30 minutes versus an hour, 30 minutes versus an hour and a half, 30 minutes versus 2 to 3 hours. 30 minutes typically is the best performer, but I highly recommend that you test it out for your brand. And then again, similarly, we have 2 different paths. Someone that's bought before, someone that's not bought before. The path that has not bought before is going to be reintroduce that welcome discount. You can see here, email number 1 has generated $17,000 in revenue with a 61% open rate. This is for the people that have purchased before. For the people that haven't purchased before, they have a 46% open rate and $14,000 in revenue. Scroll down, this one has $2,300 in revenue. This one has $950 in revenue. Email number 3 has $7,000 in revenue. And that's why it's really, really important to have multiple emails in your abandoned checkout flow, because imagine if this brand just stopped right here with just these 2 emails, they'd be missing out on an additional $7,000 here in email number 3, where we're offering a mystery discount. And then they'd also be missing out on an additional $3,000 here, which is a plain text email. And so it's really, really important to have multiple emails within the flows, because some emails might perform better than others. You might want to test out different offers throughout the email sequence later on. And just different types of content, right? Like looking at ways that you can address objections throughout multiple emails within the flow rather than just having everything in one flow. It's going to be really, really important. And so when do you send these flows? So now that you have these 4 powerful email flows, the next task is to send them at the right moment, because if you don't send them at the right moment, then it's most likely just going to get ignored. So I have this little chart here that shows you exactly when to activate each flow in relation to user behavior. So you can see that we have each of the flows right here: the checkout abandonment, cart abandonment, browse abandonment, site abandonment, welcome series. For the welcome series, we want to trigger that immediately. And then we have a 30-minute time delay between someone receiving the SMS, 12-hour time delay between email number 1 and email number 2. And the rest of the emails in the sequence have a 1-day time delay. For the site abandonment, we have a 2-hour time delay, because we want to give enough time for people to actually come back to the site, view the products, just browse around. And so we're sending email number 1 2 hours after they are active on site. Email number 2 is going to be sent 22 hours later. For the browse abandonment, we have a 2-hour time delay, and we have 1-day time delays between the rest of the emails. We have 3 emails total. For the cart abandonment, we have a 1-hour time delay, because it is a little bit more higher intent. So we want to, reduce the window in which we're waiting for people to come back. And then we have a 1-day time delay across all the rest of the emails, and we have 4 total emails. For the checkout abandonment, because it's the highest intent, we have a 30-minute time delay, because we don't want people to be distracted and just lose focus on their browsing session and their cart. So we're waiting 30 minutes, and then we have a 1-day time delay between the rest of the emails there. So again, 4 emails total for the checkout abandonment, 4 for the cart abandonment, 3 for the browse abandonment, 2 for the site abandonment, and then we have 6 for the welcome series. That's what I recommend. And just a pro tip, like I said earlier, test timing for your audience, right? All of this is just best practices and as far as what we've seen to work, but every audience and every brand is different. And so A/B testing time intervals can significantly improve open rates and conversions. And so really just, need to A/B test that in order to understand what works really well for your brand specifically. By the way, if you want me to run your email marketing on a done for you basis, just click the first link in the description to book a free call with me. We've already done this for over 150 plus e-commerce brands and have generated over $100 million in email revenue. We have also 30 plus client testimonials that you can check out on our site. And so yeah, I'm really looking forward to learning more about your brand and what we can do to help you out with your email marketing. Talk to you soon.